What up? How we doing, y'all? Huh? Doing well? Let me start it off with my song, yo. All praise. I've been sitting still, searching for God. It's gone great. Easy street is peace. The hands of relief, like all state. How can I lose? It's proven, of course. I'm on pace. We all one energy, cross states. Even odds, Venus, Mars. We connected it all on raw faith. Keep the crowd jumping like ball fakes. Haters hate with the long face. We taking up our space. Jesus sequel, and these are the lost tapes. Not sure what the title of this is, but I am going to attempt to give language to authenticity again and to God, and I'm going to talk about the connections between those things. Have you noticed? Have you noticed that it's hard to explain what God is? It's hard to describe God. It will require effort. It will require words. You might need to piece it apart. You might need to think and talk about God in parts. You might need to give contrast and talk in specifics and then try to culminate something in order to talk about God. Have you noticed that authenticity is the same way? They're talking about yourself deeply. Understanding yourself has the same challenge that you're limited by words. Well, that's because it's all one thing. We've talked about this. It's all one thing. We've said it before a million times. It's all one thing. The path to God includes and deals with and requires the path to God is a path through the self because it's all one thing, even time. We talked about authenticity on some other videos. We talked about how it's a rolling and evolving concept. It's not easy to talk about yourself and your authentic self. You might give yourself some adjectives and call yourself something, and you might be doing that in the moment. In a moment, when you're 10 years old, you have a set of adjectives and how you describe yourself. When you're 18, you'll have a different set. Hopefully when you're 30, 40, you have a different set of adjectives. You might be describing yourself, but that would be only part of the story. You would need more than a sentence or a few sentences to properly grasp what you are, because you're not just a set of adjectives. Those are only words. Those are only symbols pointing to things. You are a very complex phenomena. You are very complex. Not just a collection of cells and bones and skin and shit, but like consciousness. And you've evolved over time. And so your authentic self is different over time. But we might say often when you go back and you look back at yourself, you can notice the parts of the self that were always there. The parts of the authentic self that were always there, but that at many points in life were taught to be subdued. You energetically agreed to be less the self and more predictable, that you would receive love for those things, and that you would be safe from danger if you were more predictable, if you were more like what your parents and your friends and society told you to be. And so the path to the authentic self, one of the reasons it's so challenging to describe it is that it is actually the relinquishing of stories. It is not a story. It is not a particular way to be. We admonish the manosphere because they're so intent on telling you a particular way to be. All of these people have different value sets and a set of stories about how you should present and how you should walk and how you should be and how you should relate to women and how you should act. And these stories will govern how people behave. The people who take that seriously, the people who take that on, who believe those things. But underneath that is an authenticity. Underneath all the stories, letting go of all the stories. We've covered a lot of this ground. And how is God the same thing? Well, underneath all of that is the intuition that God gave you. Underneath all of the assumptions, when the young boy wanted to play with, you know what I'm saying, like get into dance, and he was told that he couldn't because men don't dance. And then and then he performed and he realized, okay, and then he tried his best. And you'll find that later in life that this young boy, if that was true to him, that his authentic self will need to dance. And who gave that to him? How did that arise? Well, it's God. It is in him. That's just one example. So his authentic self rests in his ability to engage with something that existed before all the stories he was given by his peers and his friends. Before it all, it was a gift. It's actually the thing that makes him unique. It's actually an advantage to him should he pursue his authentic self, should he be exactly who he is, without reservation, without fear, without the blockage. How many of us deal with blockages of all kinds? And the healing process is a process of shedding these things and uncovering the authentic self. It's the removal of narrative. Back to what? Back to God. Back to God. Because that's who you are. And that's the gift that was given to you inside of you. And people might say, no, that's not God. God is a white man in the clouds. And he's looking down and he's judging and he's watching and he's waiting for you to, and he knows how bad you are. And that's a story. I mean, that is a particular story. And there are other parts of the world with other stories about God. And you might quickly, you get it. You look at those stories and you're like, no, that doesn't make sense. But you're quick to validate your story because it was a story that was given to you. Not because it's true. Because it was a story that was given to you. And we've talked about how like something so complex like God or like the self or any complex thing that it's possible to talk about it. It's possible to talk about it in ways that don't meet exactly what is. It's possible to see it and engage with it at a lower order than its full self. It's possible that the truth escapes you because your mind and your faculties are dependent on language and dependent on a specific kind of logic. And when you engage with something that escapes that logic, your mind can't or refuses to process it. It might be simpler for you to simply, you try to attach your logic, you try to attach that story to it. But that's not what is. Instead of thinking that God, see, the challenge is when you try to talk about God, people try to talk about God, and one of the first things they want to know is where. You know, you want to give language to something that escapes language. You want to be precise and talk about something that is outside of these realms of time, space, and all that. And it's also in all of it. It is the whole thing. It is the consciousness that allows us to see and appreciate any of this. And it is the intuition that actually drives us in the first place. And depending on the stories we've been given, you know, the conflicts that we will meet will be about this tension between the intuition and the sort of social and societal paths and rules and commitments that we've inherited. But what if instead of thinking of God as some separate entity in the clouds somewhere per se, judging, being very human, being very anthropomorphic, projecting all of your particular stuff so what is a concept? But what if God is so intricate and so complex that he not only created the beautiful world that you observe and the interconnected nature of nature, and humans and everything that occurs. He can, this knife's edge, that where Earth sits and rotates around the sun, and the ecosystems that keep us all alive. Not only was that created by God, but also a labyrinth, an ornate labyrinth, a maze, a creative maze, an inner world that is equally beautiful and ornate. Maybe several orders of magnitude more ornate than the external world. But that this can be missed if you spend your entire life looking only externally, only giving language to the external, accepting the external, accepting stories given to you about where you should be drawing your attention. You fail to look inward. You fail to notice your intuition. You become masterful at hiding yourself and judging other people who don't hide themselves in the same way, right? That's the other part of that. Failure to engage with and accept the self, and to know the intuition, and to know the self, and to be authentic. A failure to heal and to be authentic and to know God creates anxieties. It creates separations. It creates problems. It creates where there could be an opportunity to grow and to resolve, where there could be an opportunity to find ease and to find love. You might find conflict because you haven't resolved the key question of your authenticity. You haven't shed the unnatural stories and separations that you've been given. And so sit for a moment and consider how powerful it is that God would create you and all of the meticulous inner workings of you, the physical and chemical inner workings of you, but also a spiritual, intuitive inner working, an inner world that wants to be seen and tended to and accepted and loved and seen after perhaps years or decades of neglect. And that path of love and acceptance of the self is also a love and acceptance of God. How interesting. How beautiful. How loving is that? How much more creative than the other story? Maybe God's a bit more creative than we thought. Obviously, he is. And if I say he, even there, that's a pronoun. That's a that carries a set of assumptions, that carries an image, an archetype when I say he. God, it, consciousness, you. So healing and authenticity speaks to the path to the self, and it speaks to the path of God, and it speaks to the path of what is. It's the only thing that is, rather than all the stories we're inundated with that aren't. So continue to be present, continue to trust and to know and to love, continue to be curious about yourself and about what is, and to choose to stand in that more and more, even as it feels difficult, even as you face adversity, to stand further, stronger, more confidently, in the knowing. That's the opportunity that that is presented to us at all times. Right now. Yeah. Look, I see the God in you, and I respect you. And that's why I'm having these conversations with you. That's why I'm talking about what is on this level with you. Because you're chosen. Because if you're here watching this and you're still watching this, you've chosen and you are chosen. And you're resonating with these words because you know it's true. And you're walking on your path, and I salute you. Check out the rest of this YouTube channel. Subscribe to these videos. I will see you at the next one. Peace.